We're going to talk about naming, but molecular compounds. So molecular compounds focus just on this side of the periodic table. So reminder, nonmetals are to the right side of the Zintel boundary. So when nonmetals combine with other nonmetals, they combine in ways other than by charge. So there are multiple ways in which they can combine. So for example, if I have CO and CO2, oxygen and carbon, you are probably familiar, are able to combine both as a 1-to-1 ratio and a 1-to-2 ratio. You already know the names of these compounds, but I will show you the structure behind it. So these are binary compounds, so I'm still going to name the first element just as is, so carbon and carbon. And the second element, minus the last syllable, add IED, so this would be oxide. So because they can combine in multiple ways, I can't just leave it as carbon oxide, saying carbon oxide could mean either CO or CO2. I can't use Roman numerals and parentheses because they don't take charges. These aren't transition metals. But you have heard what these are called. You know that this is called carbon monoxide, and this is carbon dioxide. So what I use when I use molecular compounds is I use prefixes. So the prefixes that you have to know are 1 to 10 will be mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, octa, nona, and deca. So this is 1 through 10. The weird ones are, oh, I forgot, hepta is 7. Hepta is not septa, it's hepta, and it's tetra for 4. So it's not quad. So I use mono only if it's not the first element. So I don't say monocarbon monoxide. If I only have one carbon, then I'm just going to say carbon. So why don't you try your hand at N2O4. So again, the naming, just write down the names of the first element is nitrogen and then leave a space, oxide. So if you look at your prefixes, this would be dinitrogen tetroxide. So if there's a vowel here, we often just drop the vowel so it wouldn't be weird, like, you know, you wouldn't want this to be monoxide because that just sounds dorky. So try SF6, and why don't you try P3Cl5. All right, so pause and you can try this. Come back when you're ready. So this would be sulfur, leave a space, fluoride, and I have one sulfur, but it's the first one, so I'm not going to put mono. And then I have hexafluoride here. This would be phosphorus and chloride. So triphosphorus pentachloride. So you don't have to use different colored pens if you like to, like I do, because it's fun. Go ahead. But that's just to show you which ones are the base name and which ones use the prefixes. Now with molecular compounds, I can have more than one element. So I could have something like CCl3F. So I would call that carbon, chloride, fluoride, and then put in the prefixes. So carbon, trichloride, monofluoride. And when you look on packaging and you're like, whoa, that's a really long name, it's usually because it's a molecular compound and they're just telling you all the different aspects that are in it. Just because it's a really long name, carbon trichloride monofluoride, doesn't mean that the actual compound is that big or scary.